All right. I should be live now. I'm trying everything out, man. We're trying everything. So let me make sure this bad boy is on. We got to test it. We're testing. Okay. All right. So it looks like everything's on. Okay, cool. What's going on, everybody? So we're going to do this thing again. Perfect. We got a loud and clear here. We got people on here. All right. So welcome to Be More Training. And as usual, we always have a little bit of difficulty setting this bad boy up. So this morning there was some Facebook permissions that was kind of wonky, but we back in there. And guess what? Obviously, I'm doing it on Be More Training, but I'm also doing it on TikTok. We on TikTok. Let me move this thing over here so I can stop looking over on the screen. Because what we're going to do now, all right, we got it rolling, baby. We got the TikTok, we got the Be More Training, YouTube, all that good stuff. All right. So today we are going to discuss LLCs. And what do we mean by LLCs? We're talking about limited liability corporations, right? And how we can actually structure them for asset protection. That's a big thing, man. A lot of us here, hey, how do you own so many properties? And how do you protect yourself when somebody sues you or something along those lines? It's important to understand that we have to have protections put in place. We have to have things that can block people from suing us or attacking our hard-earned money and capital, right? So we're going to talk about LLCs today. Now, with LLCs, this is going to take about 30 minutes, guys. Obviously, if you guys have questions, that's what I love. I love to see them questions pop up because now we can really start to break down some of those questions that you can't cover during a quick presentation, if you will, right? So we're just going to touch on some of these things. But when we're talking about LLCs very specifically, we have to understand why people use LLCs, all right? So there's two things that people think LLCs are going to help you with. They think that the LLC is something that can help you with taxes, all right? It can save you money with taxes, and that isn't necessarily the case, all right? Because although you can structure your taxes differently, an LLC for real estate investing very specifically when you're holding rental properties is treated like a pass-through entity. And what do we mean by a pass-through entity? It's basically all that income that you made for that year, for that company, is now being passed through and going directly to you as an individual on your taxes. So if you made, let's just say hypothetically, you make $200,000 a year for your job, all right, but then you made another $50,000 of taxable income on your real estate. Well, then it's a pass-through entity, so now you're taxed at $250,000. Right? So it's important to understand that an LLC doesn't inherently help you with taxes. There are some things you can do write-offs, you can structure like an escrow, blah, 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 but that's not what it's for. An LLC as an entity, a limited liability corporation, is intended for asset protection. So now that we know what the real goal is, it's asset protection, how does it protect you? So the first piece is something called a corporate veil. You don't have an innie or an outie. Bro, I got an innie belly button. Yo, see, I told y'all, here's the thing. If we was going to do this, we're on Facebook, we're on YouTube, LinkedIn, all this other good stuff. And now I'm on TikTok. We gotta deal with the TikTok questions too. The dude gonna say, do I have an innie or an outie? I got an innie belly button. I got an innie. Y'all can see all on IG. Y'all can see me out there just diving into pools and stuff. And y'all can see it. All right, but asset protection, right? So when we're talking about how does it protect you, so the first layer is called a corporate veil. A corporate veil. All right. A corporate veil is essentially just a sheet of protection, like a wall, a chain link. That's the way I like to think about it. And what it is on paper, it says, hey, look, this is a corporation. Therefore, if we want to sue you, we're suing the company, right? That is the veil. The whole point is you want to make sure that somebody can't pierce that corporate veil. They can't just say, hey, look, you've neglected to fix this water heater that I've complained about. So because you've neglected me, forget this corporate veil. I'm suing you as a person, Mike, right? We want to avoid that. So that's the first layer of protection with an LLC is that corporate veil. All right. The next thing that you have to understand is how they protect you is through anonymity. That's a big ass word. I had to Google it. I had to write it down, but it's basically remaining anonymous, right? So let's think about it like this. If I created an LLC today and I called it Mike Glaspie LLC, who do you think owns that LLC? Well, no shit, right? It's me. I didn't do anything to kind of risk my or cover myself. I just put it all out there. So you want to be anonymous, right? You want to try to remain anonymous. You want to say maybe it's Main Street 123 LLC, right? Or maybe it's Hip Hop Hooray LLC, right? The point is when they read that company's name, they don't really know who it's tied to. So a lot of people don't really know how to be creative when it comes to names, but here's the best part. You don't have to be creative at all. So here's a couple of ideas as far as names, right? Maybe you just name the city, right? So I'm in Charlotte, North Carolina. So maybe I'll say Charlotte Homebuyers LLC. Nobody really knows who it is. We know we're in Charlotte though, right? Or you could do the street, right? Main Street 123 LLC, right? Or name of whatever your mission objective is with the company, you know, whatever, Generational Wealth LLC, whatever it is, right? You got to understand that there's many different ways that you can name it that can still mask you from who owns it. Now, if somebody wants to know who the hell owns an LLC, believe me, there's easy ways to do it, right? They can simply just go to Secretary of State website. They can just hop in there and search it and then find the, you know, all that good stuff. So there's ways to do it, but we want to make it as difficult as possible when we're covering ourselves, when we're protecting ourselves for somebody to come out and sue us. That is the whole point of this. So now that we understand the different protections, right? Corporate veil, and then we got the anonymity. People don't know who it is based on the name. So now we need to figure out, well, how do we actually structure it? What do I mean by structuring? So if I have one rental house, maybe I get an LLC for it. Okay. Now what happens when I get the second rental house? Do I get another LLC? Do I? Or do I just put them under one LLC? Or do I create a third LLC and go from there, right? Does anybody have any suggestions on what they would do? No wrong answers, believe me, because we're going to talk about how there is no wrong answers. There's literally 1,000 ways. What I say, 1,000,000 ways to skin the cat, 1,000 ways to skin the cat, 100 ways to skin the cat. There's ways to skin the cat, goddammit. Anyway, all right. So this is the one thing I want you guys to understand. The first method is the 1-for-1. Now this can be complicated, man. If you got one LLC for every single property you own. Now let's say you only own 3 properties. That's not bad. That's not bad. You have those LLC documents. You got to file those annually. You have your separate bank accounts, all that good stuff for 3 different properties, 3 different LLCs. That's not crazy. Let's say you had 100 properties. Hell, even 20 properties. Now you can start to see, oh shit, I got LLC documents for this one, this one, this one. That's 20 different LLCs, 20 different annual filings, 20 different bank accounts. Boom, boom, boom. You can start to see real quickly how it can get complicated. So that's one way. The other way is saying, all right, well, let's bulk up some of these properties into one LLC. Well, now it's great, right? But again, if you have 3 properties under one LLC, let's think about it. If anybody sues you, cool, it's not that hard to deal with. You only have 3 opportunities for somebody to sue you. But if you have 20 or 100 properties in one LLC, well, now you just increase that opportunity to be sued and to be attacked by 20 or 100 times, right? And now when they sue and they attack, they're suing the LLC. So anything inside that LLC is now liable to get hit, right? So if you had 20 people and they sue Mike Glaspie LLC, but I got 20 properties in there, now all 20 properties are now at risk, okay? So that's the other option. And then the third option that you're going to see, and this is going to be a little bit more complex, but as people scale their portfolio, this is what they do. They say, all right, well, look, I only have 3 properties in this LLC, but I have another 3 properties in this LLC and another couple of properties in this LLC. And then guess what? All 3 of these LLCs belong to another LLC. That's called stacking. That's how you stack LLCs, right? And you might have heard of this method through, they called master LLCs, holding LLCs, series LLCs, any of that, right? All of those names are primarily the same concept. And we're going to talk really heavily about that aspect, right? About how to stack it so you guys can start to see some of the thought process behind picking what's right for you. All right, so what's up, Dennis? Dennis got some questions here. What's up, man? All right, my insurance guy told me that if I formed an LLC, my liability insurance costs could double. The reason being, he suggested that I have insurance for the LLC, but still maintain insurance in my name in the event the LLC corporate veil was pierced. This is a great question. So essentially, let's summarize that and tell me if I'm not hitting what you're asking there, Dennis, or what you're stating. The point is, if you have a property, and let's call it a rental property, and you put insurance in your personal name, you just say, I've got homeowner's insurance. Mike has homeowner's insurance. Not my LLC, Mike does. Yes, it's going to be slightly cheaper, right? And you're going to be good there. But the LLC itself is not protected at that point, right? So he's saying that liability insurance costs could double. Absolutely, because LLC insurance is technically business insurance or commercial insurance. So it is going to be a little bit more expensive. And then he suggested that I have insurance for the LLC because you have to have insurance for the LLC. That way the LLC is protected, right? And then still maintain insurance in my name in the event the LLC corporate veil was pierced. So now if they say, so now he's saying have two insurance policies, one for the LLC because you have to, and then have another backup one. So now you basically doubled your cost essentially because you have two different insurances, but he has that extra layer of protection. And that extra layer of protection is the name of the game, right? You have to figure out where your extra layer is going to be because you can choose so many things. You can have an additional insurance, and we're going to talk about umbrella insurance policies here in a second, right? Or you can just have multiple LLCs on top of each other, and then guess what? They would have to not only pierce that LLC, Dennis, but they would have to pierce the other LLC that owns that LLC before they ever got to you. So it's your choice. It's your prerogative. Yes, either have the additional insurance or have the additional LLC, right? All right. So just making sure I'm reading all the questions here. So let's talk about things you want to consider first before we talk about the actual structuring. So when you're thinking about how you want to structure it. All right, perfect. Dennis says liability insurance is not that bad as far as expensive wise. It's not terribly expensive. So great. So now you can just, start to tack on some of these additional insurance policies to add on those layers, and it may be the most cost-effective approach for you. All right. So let's talk about things that you want to consider when you're thinking of, all right, how do I structure this bad boy to protect me, right? So, I hate this chair. This chair squeaks all over the goddamn place. Anyway, all right. You have to think about, what are you protecting? Period. What are you protecting? Why is this LLC here? Am I protecting me? Am I protecting myself? Right? Because remember, limited liability, what it does is it separates. If a tenant sues you in the property, they can only sue what that business owns. That's it. If the tenant sues you, they can sue you for everything you own, to include your car, your personal home, your retirement account, your life insurance policy, whatever, until whatever their amount is that they needed to recoup is satisfied. They can sue you for everything that you have. So are you a high net worth individual who has insurance policies or college accounts for your kids or whatever that you want to protect? Are you trying to protect yourself? That's option one. Are you trying to protect your equity? What I mean by equity. So let's say I own 10 properties and each one of those properties has $50,000 worth of equity, right? That's the difference between the mortgage amount and the market value. If I got $50,000 per property, that's $500,000. That's $500,000, right? Maybe it's $1 million equity. Maybe it's $5 million of equity. And all of my worth is tied to that equity. Am I protecting equity? So that's different. Protecting equity, protecting yourself. And then the other version would be, hey, am I using other people's money? Am I taking, syndications where I got 30 people invested in this apartment complex with me? Am I doing a flip where I got private money out? Am I protecting my investors? Am I protecting my investors? If I'm protecting my investors, well, that's a different strategy as far as structuring the LLCs, right? So you need to think, what are you protecting? Are you protecting all three? Are you protecting just one? And then from there, you can decide what's best suited for you, all right? So let's go back to the top. If you're protecting yourself, you want to make sure that nothing comes back to you, then every single one of your properties must be in an LLC, one of your investment properties, right? And I say must, and that sounds pretty strong. Got it. Cool. But if you think about it, if your number one goal is to protect you, your personal net worth, your personal assets, you want to make sure that all of your investment properties are separate from you, so that liability is gone, okay? If you're protecting, and then you could even further it, right? You could say each single one of these bad boys are separate, right? And in my opinion, if you're trying to protect yourself, I'm stacking, and I'm going to show you guys the stack here that I follow, okay? Now, if it's equity, if it's just saying equity in the property, which we just discussed, then the question is, how much equity do you want to protect? How much equity do you want to protect? If you want to protect, let's say it's $500,000 worth of equity per LLC, and you have $50,000 of equity in each property, then that means that LLC gets 10 properties. 10. To put up a 5. You get my point. 10 properties, right? So 10 properties would go into that one LLC. So if you had 20 properties, how many LLCs would you have? You'd have 2. If you had 30 properties, right? And obviously this is hypothetical because you could own some properties free and clear and have all the equity in the world in them. And some of the properties, you only have 20% equity and whatever. But the point is, you're only protecting that dollar amount in equity. And that's when you're going to say, all right, well, this LLC gets 1, this LLC gets another, this LLC gets a third. Okay. Then the final one is, again, going back to those investors. Are you using other people's money? If you were, this is my recommendation. And I probably should have started this, but guys, I am not an attorney. All right. I am not an attorney, but I got a lot of fucking LLCs and I had a lot of conversations with attorneys. So I'm telling you, just from my experience, this is what I recommend when dealing with investors. If people give you money to invest into a big, beautiful deal, regardless if it's a hotel, right? Or if it's an apartment complex, or if it's a single family fix and flip. If somebody gives you money, my recommendation is that you have one LLC per partner. Right? Or if it's a syndication, I got this, there's 50 partners. Yeah, no, one LLC for that project. Put it like that, per project. Okay. There's ways to structure it now. We can, if y'all want to hear a conversation on that, believe me, I can show you how you can have 50 people giving you money and have a fix and flip company. That's just one LLC. There's ways to do that. But essentially, per project, you want to have that separation because now you're not only protecting yourself, you're not only protecting the equity, you're protecting the investor. Okay. So that is that third and final structure. All right. What we got, Dennis? You got another question. Do you do the paperwork for your LLC yourself or do you have an attorney do it? Great question. I'm actually going to cover that here in about 10 minutes about how to set it up because I'm about to cover now the structure model. I printed this off for y'all, but great question. To jump ahead, I use an attorney, but I'm going to tell you the benefits of doing it yourself versus the other. All right. So I'm going to answer your question there. But all right. So let's talk about how to structure this bad boy. Okay. So you guys considered what's important to you, yourself, your equity, or your investors, and which strategy is going to be best suited. Right. All right. So now I'm going to show you the way that I structure mine to hopefully get your juices flowing. Okay. Me, I protect equity. Right? Equity is my concern. So that was number 2, meaning I get a certain dollar amount of equity and I put it all into one LLC. All right. So that's my first layer of protection. As soon as I protected enough equity, I then started becoming concerned with protecting myself. So now I layered it all. Okay. Now, after I layered it all, I began to protect my ability to operate the business after I die. And that way it continues to cycle even if I'm here or I'm not here. Okay. So those are the 3 layers as I progressed of how I protected it. All right. So this is, so I'm going to give it to my TikTokers first, and then I'm going to give it to you guys. Can you guys just, can you see the blurs? You may not be able to read it, but you can see the bubbles, right? Is that good? Let me know if you can't see the bubbles. But we're going to go through each one of these bad boys. All right. So the bottom, way down here, these little bubbles, these are the pockets of properties. Call it property 1, property 2, right? These basically single family rentals, or maybe that's an apartment complex 1, so forth and so on. Okay. All right, Jack sees the bubble. Perfect. All right, cool. So you see the bubbles. I know y'all can see it. I'll tell you, the TikTok got the good quality. Then shit's HD. Anyway, all right. So these are your individual properties. Now, each one of these properties report to the first LLC. Now, I'm going to tell you something. I've changed this since recently. These individual ones used to be just properties and they would be under the LLC because I was protecting equity. Remember that, right? So I can put 3 properties in one LLC, which is that next little block there, right? But what I've ended up having to do is now create LLCs down here to hold the properties that all report to the one LLC. Now, if you'll see, if you probably can't see it, this one here says NC and then IL and TX, right? These are essentially LLCs for the state, So think about this. Not every state requires you to have an LLC in that state and own property there. Not every state does, but every state does require you to have some sort of ability to do business in the state. You know what I'm saying? Like, so let's say you had a California LLC, but you wanted to buy properties in North Carolina. Well, the state of North Carolina needs you to have an ability to do business in that type of, like a license or certificate. And you can have that with the California LLC, where some states are going to say, hey, look, man, you can't own property here unless you have an LLC in the state. Many reasons for that, but you got to understand that, right? Where can you get a copy of the diagram from? That's a great question. Sorry, guys. I don't know if, I mean, you guys can reach out to me. I'll send it to you. I don't give a damn. I'll send you this diagram because there's nothing on here. It's just names of entities, right? So if you guys want to see this diagram, let me know, reach out to me and I'll send it to you. So what I've ended up doing now is creating LLCs that all report to a holding company in that state. Okay. In that state. Now for every state that I operate in, I have a different LLC, different layers of protection. Why? Because some of that was a requirement like we just talked about, right? Some of it was the state requires you to have an LLC there. One, and two, that just separates that layer of protection because now let's go back to it. Let's say I own a whole bunch of properties in North Carolina and all of a sudden I verge out and I say, you know what? I love, I don't know, trying to think of New York. Fuck it. I love New York. So I'm going to buy a rental property in New York. Well, I got 5 properties in North Carolina, 1 property in New York. I don't live in New York. What happens when a snowstorm comes or somebody sues me and I don't have shit going on in New York that I can really go and support that claim, that lawsuit, right? Well, hell, now I just put my entire North Carolina portfolio at risk, right? So we want to separate that type of protection. And again, this is just through LLCs because we haven't even gotten into insurance policies and like Dennis was talking about because there's other layers there, right? We're talking about LLCs. All right. So now I have one in each state. So I got my LLCs reporting to each state. Now, all of these states, all 3 of these bad boys, guess what they report to? Another LLC. Bear with me. Remember, I talked about progression, right? So in first, I was just protecting equity. I was only down here. Just protecting equity. And I got that. I covered all that. Now I was worried about protecting myself. So I didn't want them to be able to attack the equity, right? Because now my exposure is getting greater. I got more tenants, blah, 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 bigger properties, whatever. The exposure is greater. I got to protect myself. So now they all report to another holding company. Now, here's a secret. All y'all need to pull out a pen. All y'all need to focus. Here's the secret. There are certain states that have better protection than other states. I don't know if y'all hear me. There are certain states that have better protection. The 2 states that come to mind for small business, not for all businesses, for small business, is the state of Nevada and the state of Wyoming. This LLC is in Wyoming for me. You could do Nevada. They have very similar protections. I think Nevada is a little bit tighter, which means it's better protection for you, but it does cost a little more. It's not crazy amount, but I started this pretty young in the journey and I was like, fuck it, I'm trying to save me some money, right? So I went to Wyoming and it's been good. Wyoming's been fine, right? So all of these report to another holding company in Wyoming. Now that Wyoming company is just, if y'all ever seen that movie, Laundromat, y'all ever seen Laundromat? Now Laundromat is a movie about, thieves laundering their money. We're not talking about laundering money, but the way that they actually set it up was like, oh, well, that's a shell corporation. If you guys ever heard of that, a shell corporation, that's kind of what this concept is. There's nothing illegal about a shell corporation, by the way. This is highly practiced between all of the biggest, corporations out there. And there's nothing for you to hide here. Just understand that, let's say somebody did try to come sue you. They still got to get through that bad boy. Right? So they're down here, they own the property. They say, I'm going to sue you. All right, well, come on. You got to sue the LLC first. All right, well, let's say they happen to pierce that LLC. Well, now they got to go to Wyoming, and Wyoming's tough. You got to pierce that sucker first before you can get to me, right? Before you can get to me, I'm up here. That's me. Okay? So then goes to Wyoming. Now we talked about extra layers of protection. So after Wyoming, I know you guys can't see this, but right here, it can be quite a few things. Right now it says a revocable living trust. Because remember, now I talked about generations. After I protected myself, my assets, and me, I want to make sure that I can build in something, you know, that think of it like a will, where it says, as soon as I pass, these are the things that need to happen to all of this. Yeah, that's oversimplification, yes, but that's what that is. But it doesn't have to be this. It can be like Dennis's point there. He said, hey, what about insurance? This can be an umbrella insurance policy. An umbrella insurance policy that puts another $1, $2, $3 million on all of this. So now somebody sues you here, and then they sue here, and they do get through it. Well, we got another $2, $3 million that can pay them out before it ever gets to me, right? So just understand these are all layers of protection. And then finally up top is the individual, is you, right? And you now, hopefully you feel safe, or at least a little bit more protected, right? From all those possible suings and lawsuits and blah, 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 blah. All right, so any questions on that before I get to my man Dennis's question about how to build out the LLC? Any questions? I know there's like a small delay on Facebook, YouTube, and all that. All right, no worries, no worries, no worries. All right, so the next thing we're going to talk about is how to set it up, how to set up an LLC. All right, so there's a whole bunch of ways to do it. I prefer, this is going to be the easiest way, use an attorney. That's just my preference. When you use an attorney, what they're going to do is they're going to give you the paperwork to fill out. You'll fill it out. They will take it and they will file it, and they will go to the IRS and all the other stuff. And they will charge you anywhere from $200 to $500. I even seen one try to charge like $750, which is just pure bullshit, to be quite honest. There's no way it should cost that much. And you don't want to know why it shouldn't cost that much? Because you can go to the Secretary of State's website directly and do it for $20. Seriously, $20. Now there's certain things you want to keep in mind when you file with the Secretary of State, and guys, it's $20 in the state of North Carolina. I don't know what state you're in, and it could be a hell of a lot more, but I do know you can go to the Secretary of State website and do it all yourself in most of the states. All right. So now you knock it out there. The thing is, that's going to give you the articles of organization or articles of incorporation, basically saying, hey, look, this is a real life business and it exists and it's live. All right. So you got that. The next step you're going to need, though, you are going to need an IRS letter, right? The IRS, once they're cut, they want to get paid. And when you apply to the IRS with your business, they're going to produce a social security number for your business. All right. It's called an EIN, employee identification number, or employer identification number. Doesn't matter. EIN, right? Now, with that number, you need that number to get a bank account, to apply for credit, to whatever. All right. So you're going to need that document. What attorneys will do is they'll say, yeah, man, we're going to charge you $100 as part of that fee, but we're going to charge you $100 so we can go get you this EIN letter. Guess what? Here's another tip. Here's another secret. Write this down. The EIN letter is free. The IRS doesn't even charge you. You literally go on there 5 minutes, put in your stuff, bow, EIN letter comes out. Bloop. Same letter that the attorney's going to give you. Same fucking letter. It's going to just poop out. Boop. It's free. So you can do it yourself, right? Literally within an hour, you can have your articles of incorporation complete. You can have your EIN letter. And then the last thing you want to make sure you have is an operating agreement. I do not care. I do not care if you are just one owner of the LLC. All right. The operating agreement basically says this is how all owners of the LLC intend to operate for the duration of, I'm still here for the duration of the business. Okay. It's basically saying, yo, look, we're going to get paid out quarterly. We're going to take all inquiries or lawsuits to this level. And we're going to do this with the bank account. We're going to file taxes by this date. It's all in the operating agreement. Now, the reason the operating agreement is important, even if you only got one owner, the reason the operating agreement is important is because as soon as you go to get a loan on your business, specifically for a property, because there are some business loans that won't require seeing an operating agreement, but for a property, they're going to want to see the operating agreement. Why? Because a lender wants to know, like, yo, I want to make sure you're making the decisions. I want to make sure that whoever owns this bad boy is credible, right? Maybe that person doesn't have foreclosures, that other silent partner. I want to make sure that if things go awry, I know who to contact. Okay. So it's extremely important that you have those three things: the articles of incorporation or articles of organization, the EIN IRS letter, the actual letter in hand, and the operating agreement. The reason I'm saying this again and again is because you can create all of these for free, but I find it much easier to go to one-stop shop and go to the attorney, have them do it all up and pay them $500. Now, not everybody has 500. I understand that. When I first started, I didn't do that. When I first started, I went to Secretary of State and I did it all myself for the first LLC ever. The second LLC I ever had, I went to the websites that basically help you create a business, right? An LLC called like InkFile. Do y'all remember that? Y'all remember InkFile? Or I think I went to InkFile. So it's inkfile.com. And there's another one, something like Zip something. Y'all remember that one? Yeah, if y'all remember, type it in, but give me just 2 seconds because now it's gonna annoy the hell out of me if I don't remember it. Create LLC online. Free my ass. Ain't none of it free either, guys. It says free, but that's LegalZoom. That's it. LegalZoom. So you can go to LegalZoom, InkFile. I chose InkFile instead of LegalZoom because InkFile was cheaper. But here's the thing. I did it. Okay. I went to InkFile, did everything, and it's still what happened was I got the articles of organization and I paid for them to order the EIN letter on InkFile. I had to pay, right? And I was like, what the hell? I thought, I know it's free. But what InkFile didn't do, or what they offered to create an operating agreement, but it was like an additional $150 or something like that, right? And at the time I was trying to save money. So I was like, no, I'm not paying $150. I don't need an operating agreement. Bam, that went back and bit me in the ass. And again, this was years ago. This was way in the beginning. But after doing those things, I found it easier to simply just use an attorney. You know what I mean? Just use an attorney and get it all done. But if money is tight, take your time, do it yourself, do it for free, right? It takes a little bit longer, but do it for free. And then if you're, want to spend a little money with a little guidance, then go to InkFile or LegalZoom. And guys, I guarantee there's probably 100 more websites that can do it all as well, right? But just go to those two or start there at least, and you can Google the rest to find something. Find somewhere else to go. All right, so that's how you create, or at least that's the thought process behind it. So hopefully, Dennis, that answers some of your questions, man. If you got any more questions, let me know. But I mean, that's it, guys. So we're going to recap this, and as I'm recapping, if you guys have any questions, just throw it in the chats. Whatever the question is, I mean, it could be about LLCs. Hopefully, it's about LLCs, right? But maybe it's not. Maybe it's about taxes. Maybe it's about considering your next investment, whatever, right? We got a few minutes. And the only reason we're running long, guys, because we started late. So we got some time. We got another 30 minutes that it's blocked out for this presentation, right? But as always, I'll let y'all go early if you ain't got nothing for me. All right, so what does it say? Oh, here goes a question. Thank you, Dallas. The question says, do you have a YouTube channel with this information? And the answer is yes. There is a YouTube channel. Thank you for asking. It's called Military Cash Flow. Military Cash Flow. We got a website, militarycashflow.com. We got the YouTube channel, Military Cash Flow. And I know it says Military Cash Flow. And yes, a lot of it is targeted towards the veterans, the active duty service members, veterans and everything else, because that's my background and my co-host background. However, we cover a lot of different things like taxes, different creative financing, legal structuring, just like this, so forth and so on. And at any point in time, if you guys want to know about a very specific topic, just let us know. And if we know it, great. We'll make a video or we'll make some content about it. But if we don't know it, we'll just point you in the right direction because we're not going to waste your time with it, right? It's always hard to kind of continue to come up with ideas because we don't necessarily know, what you guys want to know. All right. So one more recap while you guys are thinking of questions. All right. So down here are all of your individual properties, okay? Each one of these individual properties, they report to the LLC for the state. It's just one LLC. So this is one LLC that holds multiple properties. These LLCs in all these different states have one holding company. They're all now subsidiaries of this one holding company. After that holding company, if you want more protection, you can put a living trust or an umbrella insurance policy up here. And then at the top of there, you have the trustee, which is you or you, right? If it's just an insurance policy, it doesn't have to be a trust. That is the stack that I currently use. And that is the stack as you progress, right? So, hey, I'm just worried about protecting basically equity. Now I'm worried about protecting partners. So I need to separate them all. Now I'm worried about protecting myself, right? And then you go up higher and higher, okay? Asset protection. So we have the corporate veil piece, and then we got the anonymity piece. Anonymity just means being anonymous. Make sure people don't know you. They don't know who the hell owns the company. I've seen so many people do, like, for example, Mike Glaspie, LLC. Bro, you just gave it away. Now, if somebody can go rent there and they can sue you very specifically because they know it's you, if they had a vendetta or if they think that you have a deep pocket and they can get some money from you. So you got to be careful of that. Anonymity's a long way. Dallas says, I like to get into buying rentals, like maybe 10 or so properties. Hell yeah. If I come up with 20% down, what kind of loan could I pursue? Great. All right. Great question. So first off, yes, you could definitely get started buying properties, regardless of what your goal is, 10, 5, doesn't matter. When you're looking to put down different investment, or when you're looking at the different investment loans, you always want to know what asset class you are going to pursue. And what I mean by asset class is, are you going to get single family homes? Or are you going to get multifamily homes? And it doesn't have to be an apartment complex. It'd be a duplex, triplex, quad, so forth and so on, right? If it's 4 units and below, then you can get a 30-year fixed conventional investment loan for 20% down. And the rates will be somewhere in the 3%. Very, very attractive loans. But those are full documentation loans. All that means is we're going to look at your income. We're going to say, what's your income compared to your debt? And can your income support that property? Now, the beautiful piece is with a multifamily, let's say you did get a duplex, triplex, or quadplex. Well, and they were rented. We can actually use some of that rental income to help increase your income. So you can afford a bigger property, right? On the single family side, we can, but it's not going to be quite as helpful because it's going to be a smaller amount, right? Because it's only going to be one door. But you can absolutely get a 30-year fixed, somewhere around the 3%. Now, again, in that same vein, if you wanted to buy it in the LLC, like we talked about, if you guys want to buy properties in LLCs and you want to use a loan, you can get a 20% down as long as it is 4 units and below. So 1, 2, 3, or 4 doors, right? All on one lot. If you tried to go after an apartment complex, which let's just call that 5 units or more, bare minimum down payment is 25%. And most likely you're going to find it around 30%. Now, with that being said, there's probably a lender out there who says, "No, fuck it, I'll give it to you for 80%." There probably is one, right? It's just not common. So you're going to have to dig that up. But best of luck to you, Dallas, man. You got this, brother. You got this. All right. What other questions you guys got? I ain't got nothing. You know, I'm going to let you go. I'm going to let you get back to the grind. Yeah, absolutely, man. No worries. And let's give a shout out to Ruben again, hooking us up with this Streamyard stuff on Instagram and Facebook and YouTube. I don't know if Ruben's on here. Hey, y'all seen Ruben's tooth? I've been giving his ass shit for that thing, man. I told him he needs to go get that plugged up. Every time he does his, and this is a beautiful day. I'll be clowning him. Love you, Ruben. All love, bro. All love. Jack. Bro, that lisp is a beautiful day. Fucking hilarious. All right. So Dow says one more question. He says, did you say the 4 or less single family homes have to be on one lot? All right. So yeah, on that point, I breezed over it. I did. So I'm glad you brought that back up. If you're saying, hey, I want to buy basically up to a quadplex, 1 to 4 doors, and I want to have that 20% down loan, that's the key. I want to use that conventional investment loan. Yes, they have to be on the same lot because it doesn't count if you had 4 single family homes, 4 1-door homes all on the same street, right? So that's 4 different properties now, and you're trying to get an investment loan. That's a commercial loan at that point. Okay, that's a commercial loan at that point. So I try to make it clear. If you got 4 doors, ideally you want it under one roof. If that makes it more clear, 4 doors under one roof guarantees you can get the 20% financing. If that makes sense. Boom. What else y'all got? What else y'all got? All right, too easy. Well, I ain't gonna hold you. I'm gonna let y'all get back to it, man. Hopefully you guys enjoy your day. Again, appreciate the flexibility. Try to do this once a month, and we can do it more. We can do it more if y'all want, you know. Dallas got another question. Hold on. Are commercial loans hard to obtain for multiple properties? No. So it depends on what you mean by hard to obtain, but the answer is no. To get a commercial loan on multiple properties, it's the same process. You're going to fill out the application. You're going to then have to go out and get appraisals on all of those properties, and that's it, right? The things that we look at, commercial loans very specifically, we want to make sure your credit score meets the minimum, which is typically about 640. Okay, 640 is the minimum credit score. And then we're going to want to say, all right, well, do you have enough for the down payment and for the reserves? And that is most likely going to be the sticking point, right? So let's just say you pursued 5 properties, all different properties, but the total value of all the properties was $5 million. For example, you're still going to need a 30% down payment, which I wish I was better at math. Guys. I'm sorry. But 30% of $5 million. Okay. Then on top of that, most commercial loans are going to want to see reserves, meaning whatever your monthly payment will be moving forward, they want to make sure that you have at least 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months saved up somewhere. So not only do you need the 30% down payment, but you also need the 6 months saved up as well. And you have to be able to show all of that liquidity to actually get those loans. That's really the only hard part, because if you've saved your money, you're good to go, right? And there's other ways to get around that. You could use equity in other properties as your down payment and reserve, right? We can get into that. We can get into all that. But my point is, it's not hard. It's not hard, but those are the typical obstacles that you'll face. But same application process, actually an easier application process, because we don't care about your income for commercial loans. We don't care how much you make personally. We don't give a shit. We're looking at your credit score, and we're looking at the property itself. As long as the property can do its thing, you're good to go, man. You're good to go. Yeah, buddy. It's that part. This is that part where we got that awkward silence here. All right, no worries. But again, I appreciate your flexibility. Working with us, typically it's at 9:30s, 9:30 first and third Wednesday. We had to do it at 10. Me and Ruben was kind of built up. Appreciate it, Dallas. Yeah, man. Absolutely. And yeah, man, I'll let y'all get back to the grind. It's a Wednesday, right? We're halfway through. We only got 3 weeks till Christmas, so let's bust our ass. Let's get this money. And man, I hope you guys had a great Thanksgiving. I hope you guys have a wonderful Christmas. I won't talk to y'all before Christmas. And if y'all have any questions, you already know what to do. Reach out to us, both myself and Ruben. I know Ruben's occupied in the moment, but my boy Gunner, what's up, man? But yeah, if you guys got any questions, let me know. And then for Dallas, last question, I'll let you guys go on Facebook and stuff, and I'll stay on TikTok a little bit longer. But Dallas had one more question. It says, do you work for a loan company? Why, yes, I do. Why, yes, I do, Dallas. It's called MC Mortgage Group, guys. Soft, shameless plug. Not so soft. I don't care. But yeah, man, I invest myself. I own different properties, different strategies. I was a realtor for several years, helped establish a real estate team, and now I'm a loan officer. So everything that I'm sharing with you guys is all from my own experience. I don't know everything, but I have a lot of different experiences, right? So it all comes from a place that I've seen slap me in the face before. All right, but I'm gonna let you guys go on here on the Instagram and the LinkedIn and the Facebooks. Have a great day, great week, and I will see you guys later.